You learn one new word. One. And suddenly, it's everywhere. In conversations, in headlines, on a stranger's t-shirt.
This has a name. It's called the Baader-Meinhof effect. And the story behind that name is way darker than you'd expect.
Here's the part almost nobody mentions. This effect is named after a real violent militant group from 1970s Germany, the Baader-Meinhof group, also called the Red Army faction. Over nearly 3 decades, the group was officially held responsible for 34 deaths, bombings, assassinations, a kidnapping that ended in murder. This is not a lighthearted topic historically. So why is a memory quirk about noticing your new car everywhere named after that? Pure coincidence. Stick with me. 1994, Minnesota. A newspaper reader mentions the Baader-Meinhof group once, in passing, to a friend. The very next day, that same name shows up again, in an article his friend hands him. Twice in 24 hours, after years of never hearing it. Mullen wrote a letter about it to the St. Paul Pioneer Press. He half-jokingly gave the feeling a name, and it stuck. Here's the twist almost nobody catches. Even the origin story doesn't perfectly agree with itself. Some early retellings say it was an anonymous internet forum post. Careful researchers later traced it specifically to Mullen's actual newspaper letter. The story about a memory glitch got slightly misremembered every time someone retold it. That's almost too perfect. Here's what almost never gets mentioned. This effect isn't just abstract psychology. It's tied to an actual physical structure in your brain. It's called the reticular activating system, a network of neurons in your brainstem whose job is to filter incoming sensory information before it ever reaches conscious awareness. Every second, your senses take in far more than your conscious mind could ever process. The RAS is the gatekeeper, deciding what's worth letting through. The moment you learn something new, that gatekeeper is thought to raise its sensitivity to it, which is why a word you'd ignored your whole life suddenly clears the filter. On top of that physical filter, 2 separate cognitive glitches take over from there. First, selective attention. Your brain flags the new thing as relevant and starts scanning harder for it specifically. Second, confirmation bias. Every time it shows up, your brain counts it. Every time it doesn't show up, your brain simply doesn't notice the absence. A physical filter that opens wider, plus a bias that only counts the hits. And a completely ordinary word suddenly feels like it's stalking you. Here's a genuinely obscure detail most content skips entirely. There's a separate, real body of research on a related bias. What happens when you split one category into smaller pieces? In 1994, psychologists Klaus Fiedler and Thomas Armbruster published a study. Splitting one category into subcategories, say dogs into beagles, labradors, and poodles, inflates how frequent people estimate the total to be. It's a different mechanism from the frequency illusion itself, but it's proof that our sense of how often something happens is fragile in more ways than one. Back to the main event. This effect actually has 2 lesser-known siblings, coined by the same linguist, Stanford's Arnold Zwicky. The recency illusion. Believing something you only just noticed must be brand new, even when it's been around for years. And the adolescent illusion. Adults assuming teen slang is a modern invention, when older generations used nearly identical phrases. Here's something wild. This nickname existed for 11 full years as pure internet folklore before it got an actual scientific name. In 2005, Zwicky finally gave it the formal label, the frequency illusion. It didn't even reach the Oxford English Dictionary until March 2019, barely 7 years ago. And here's the part that should genuinely concern you. This effect is measurably more common today, and it's not because human brains changed. It's because algorithms now do on purpose what your RAS used to do by accident, feeding you more of whatever you just paid attention to automatically. This isn't just a fun party fact either. Marketers use repeated exposure deliberately because repetition makes things feel more common and more credible than they really are. Memory researchers even flag it as a factor in overestimating how often a claim has actually been repeated. One quiet footnote behind all this: Ulrike Meinhof, the woman half of that original name, died in her prison cell in 1976, officially ruled a suicide, though the finding was disputed at the time and still is today. So, next time you learn a new word and suddenly see it 3 times in a day, it's not the universe sending you a sign. It's Terry Mullen's 1994 letter, quietly running in your head. Subscribe, because now that you know this exists, you're going to start noticing it everywhere.